Hello, my Aries. Welcome to your February monthly reading. And this month, we are going to be looking into the sacral chakra. If you watched January's monthly, then you know that for the first 7 months of this year, I'm going to be looking at the 7 most popular chakras, focusing one on each of those months. And because we're into the second month, the second chakra from the root upwards is the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra has to do with where the root chakra was like our fears and how we relate to like the tribe and groups of people. The sacral chakra is more how we relate one-on-one with another individual. So we're going to looking into where can we transform our one-on-one relationships with other people. And it's also the seat of creativity. So we can also look at how can we release our creativity during February as well. We're going to start off by pulling a card here from a deck that I'm working on with the creator. It's an oracle deck. And there's actually 7 stacks, one for each of the chakras. And of course, this is the orange one. And this is the stack that talks about what is sparking our emotional fire. So we're going to just see from here, we're going to start off and just see where the creator wants you to be aware of where you could possibly transform your one-on-one relationships with other people. And it could be a one-on-one relationship or several, but we'll see as we go through the reading here. Let's just give this a little shuffle. All right. So creator for our Aries, what do you want them to know? Where they can transform their relationships or release their creativity. So you have that one there. Let me just put those over here. And you have the parent trap. So the parent trap here, of course, so this is answering where you can change your relationships is with your parents or with your children, either one there. And the parent trap, I had a actual podcast, and I called this one, making mama cry and disappointing dad. And so we have this type of challenge, I guess I could say it, with all of us. Every child did not have a perfect childhood, even if they say they did. And every parent, looks at themselves and doesn't feel like they were perfect either. When they get really truthful with themselves and get into their, the depths of what is happening. But you can see here that it talks about here the ceremony of adulthood. And what this is all about is, when we realize that our parents were children once too, and they were basically always being raised by children. It's children raising children, because no one got a handbook, no one got a manual on how to be a parent, and every child can be different too. And so, each child doesn't come with their own user manual. And that's part of the whole, journey and adventure here anyway. Who would want to have something so perfect happening? Because we have that back home. But this ceremony of adulthood talks about that when we are able to go back and take a look at how we saw our parents, because usually when we're younger, we have them on a pedestal like God, and we're like, they're perfect. They're supposed to do everything perfect. And when they don't, we're like, oh, our world is crushed, right? And when we look at it, we can really see that they were children, and that their parents were children, and that their parents were children, and that their parents were children. And when you can do that, and you can really glance and like meditate on any kind of situations you had when you were younger with your parents, and see them instead as that, like kind of like a memory comes up. And I kind of did this with my childhood. I just sat and said, okay, Creator, bring me a memory that I felt hurt or abandoned or betrayed or whatever it might be. And I had abandonment feelings when I was young. And so when they brought my parents forward, I saw both of them turn into children and their parents come up behind them. And I felt like the kind of childhoods they had and the things that they went through. And then, before I could judge their parents for putting them through that, their parents turned into little children, and then their parents popped up behind them. And I saw it go for generations and generations, and I saw how things continued and things continued and things continued. But it allowed me to go, wow, and I actually saw them, instead of these people who were supposed to do things for me, I saw them that they were just like every other human being that was searching for their dream, searching to be loved, searching not to be in fear, searching for security in whatever ways that they felt that they were going to be doing that. And so it transformed, one, how I was taking personally their actions towards me, and I realized that they were just, so young themselves, in their early 20s, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you guys did that, how you could try to live your lives, try to take care of children, and try to do everything else that adults and parents have to do, right? And so you just really release them from a lot of all those disappointments and expectations and everything else. And that really helps us understand and improve our relationship with our parents. The ceremony of adulthood is about that in the tribal days, and there's so many tribal rituals out there. If you look into it, there's, so many different ways that tribes and different cultures would celebrate the coming of age of their children, where they were moving from children to young adults. And we, a lot of times, especially in the United States, don't do that a lot. I know there's some cultures that do quinceañeras and, different types of things like that, but a lot of us don't do those things. And so we never really have this ceremony where we let our childhood go and we go into adulthood. And so we carry a lot of our childishness, I guess you could say, along with us into our adulthood these days. Where, like in one tribe I read, it was really cool. The men of the tribe would take the young boy and do this dramatic thing where they tear him away from the arms of his mother. They go on a hunt and they either get a tattoo. He expends the evening and the day with the men of the tribe. And then they would come back, and the tribe then started treating him differently, treating him as a young adult, and thus he started acting like a young adult. Same thing with the women, they would take a daughter away, and they would have ceremonies and different things like that, and she'd come back a young woman. And, regardless of how you identify with male or female or whatever, there's these own little ceremonies that we can create ourselves. Either do it yourself, where there's no one else involved, and you purposely, consciously move away and say, I'm moving into my adulthood. And that can be a very healing and ceremonial type thing for you. And you can involve other friends too in it if you want. But so I really feel like this, so there's this big emphasis, of course, this is about parenthood, adulthood, and your one-on-one relationships, both with your inner child, with your adult, also with your physical parents and physical children as well. So that's your focus. Now, what I also do in my monthly readings is I take a tarot deck and I split out the major arcana from the four suits of the minor arcana. And the major arcana represent, like this card, it's the overall energy for the month, what we're going to be looking at on how you can express and release your creativity, or how you can transform your one-on-one relationships. So I'm just going to give these a little mix here, and then we'll see what else the creator just wants you to know in general for the month of February. All right, so for our Aries, what else do you want? Oh, okay. You actually got two here. And the first one is the Empress. Card number 3, which is the number of creativity. And Empress is about new birth, birthing. So definitely mother energy, divine mother energy here. And she is about new beginnings because of that birth, but freedom, getting out into nature, the non-restrictiveness. And so I kind of feel like getting out from underneath this feeling of all these rules and regulations and the supposed tos and the shoulds. The Empress is this very free-flowing. She comes before the Emperor and the Hierophant, which the Emperor and the Hierophant have some shadow sides to them, which become very dictatorial, where they have all these rules and all these supposed to be's and shoulds and restrictiveness, whereas nature is this freedom, this flowiness, this birth, this springiness to it all. So I love that this is in here for you, of course, because one, it represents the divine feminine, but also represents this creativity. Yeah, okay. I had a feeling one of them, here's 5, the Hierophant. So some masculine energy coming in here as well. So this is the mother, father, parent. So with the Hierophant, like I said, they have a very loving side to them, which when you're in tune with the unconditional love of who we really are, we are looking at this is like a spiritual leader, that they would be looking at creating rules and situations to bring people together with similar beliefs so that they could help spread more love and everyone can be successful. Whereas the dictator side of it represents someone who, like all of us, when our human form, when we get into fear, that little child in of us gets into fear. We want to control. We want things to be the same and predictable. And so when that sparks, from a spiritual leader standpoint, they would want to put things into place that maintains their control, gains more control, and even takes away control from others. So there is this very divine masculine, divine feminine, nurturers. This is Mother Nature, Mother Nurture as well. So you've got both sides of the coin here when it comes to this parent trap with the divine masculine and divine feminine. So it's definitely reiterated here. This is definitely about El Parentos, or whatever it is. It's about your parents and about your relationship to your children if you are a parent as well. We'll get into more detail here, because what we're going to do, the 4 minor arcana represent 4 different sides of your existence. And we're going to start off with the staves in here, which are wands, and that's the fire element. And this usually represents like your drive, your ambition, your aha inspiration, and your passion. Also represents your spiritual energy. So this is what the Creator wants you to know for February about your spiritual adventure regarding this here. So for our Aries, okay, right off the bat there. And you've got the 6 of staves, which would be the 6 of wands. And this would be about recognition. You can see how they're all gathered around them with their wands. This is about being noticed, about being, I don't want to say praised, but it is about admiration. It's about really about being recognized. And so I feel like this spiritual kind of transformation that happens for you during this time is, you were really wanting this validation, really wanting this attention from your parental unit. And also maybe you're wanting to feel that way about your children. And I really feel like so much of this has to do with parents, though, about you being the child and these being the parents, because this recognition thing that's coming in here is that you wanted to be recognized and you didn't feel you got the recognition for the things that you did and for who you were as a child. And so this has really impacted your energy and this drive to have that in your physical world. But because this is in your spiritual aspect here, this is bringing this focus in for you that this is acknowledgement that the Creator of all things, the Divine Mother, Divine Father of all things, knows you and recognizes you. The entire spiritual realm knows you and recognizes you. And if your parents happen to be passed, this is them letting you know that they do know who you are. They've been with you since they left their bodies, and they have never left your side, and they don't have to share you with any other siblings. that they are with each and every single one of you 100% of the time, but they actually now recognize, because the second that they pass, not only do they get to understand their entire lives and see things from so many different perspectives, they get to see their child, they get to see their loved ones in a whole new way. They get to see why you made decisions that you did, feel every emotion you're ever going to feel in this lifetime, all the way back to when you were in the womb. They just see all the intricacies of who you really are, and they're in awe of you, and they recognize that. So if you do have your parent or both parents are passed, just know that that is also them bringing that through. But most of all, it's the whole entire spiritual side, your whole posse of support on the other side recognize you there. I'm also going to pull a card here from the I Am Everything deck here and just see what else the Creator wants you to know about this spiritual side of this adventure for February for you. What else? What else do you want our Aries to know? Okay. Let me just make some space to stack these cards as I use them. There we go. And you have I Am Receptive. Card number 18. It says, I am open to new ideas. I'm willing to try different methods, and I consider alternate viewpoints. I welcome intellectual stimulation. I am receptive. I mean, I really feel like this is about your creativity, that it's somehow this acknowledgement of your creativity, this acknowledgement of who you are. There were these blocks before that were keeping you from being creative because you didn't feel like validated before. You kind of felt like you were suppressed or snuffed out, where this is like, I'm receptive now. I am open to new ideas. I'm open to my creativity. I'm open to this beautiful aha inspiration that comes from your spiritual energy, from this fire energy. So there are these new ideas, this new way of doing things, these new creativity in some area of your life that this is really looking to be spawned during February. So I would definitely, whatever it might be, if it's relationships or job, education, or creating something like an object, anything along those lines. It could be any area of your life to allow this creativity to be expressed, and don't fear being rejected. You know, you might have had some old rejection feelings that you've been harboring for a long time, and this is allowing you to let that go, to really open up your creativity. And then we're going to move into the coins, which is pentacles also in a regular deck. And this represents the earth energy. And so this is all about your physical environment, your physical world that's going outside. So that could be any of the things on stage with you, whether it is like any of those things I talked about around creativity. So this will be about your physical adventure during the month of February. So for our Aries, what would you like them to know about their physical adventure during, okay. Yeah. So you got 3 of coins, which is the 3 of pentacles. And this is a beautiful message, because with this creativity that I was just talking about, this represents being authentic to yourself and authentically expressing your passions, your unconditional love in your heart in your own unique way with the world. The Creator gave me this message just because I had this one deck that showed, someone creating this beautiful piece of art, and then there was someone that was standing behind them and someone that was standing in front of him. The person behind him represented like the naysayers, the dream, bubble bursters that are like, you can't do that. That's stupid. You're never going to be able to accomplish that, and blah, 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 right? And we know all about that. And we know we put them over here outside of our circle because we don't want them influencing us with all that negativity and that shadows and that darkness. And so we know, like, I don't need to take what they have to say so seriously because they're either jealous or fearing or something, but we don't want that. we consider that like the praise and the punishment side of praise and punishment as we're growing up. Well, the other side of it, the praise part, is the other person that was standing in front that was supporting this artist in the card I'm talking about. And they are the ones that actually can be more dangerous than the naysayers, because we do enjoy that praise. Our ego inside us, that little child inside of us, really hungers for praise, really hungers for that validation from the outside. So that individual, they might be saying, I'm so proud of you, you're doing so good, and I can't wait for you to see what else you're going to do, and da-da-da-da-da. Have you ever thought of doing it this way? And they may not have intentions to sway you or everything, but within us, because we're so concerned about losing that praise and having them join the rejection camp, that we might alter our authenticity and do things like, well, I don't really want to do it that way, but I don't want to lose their appreciation or their praise or their financial support, so I'm gonna bend and do it their way. And so the message that comes with this is, don't look at their opinions. Don't look at those outside things. Stay authentic to you, expressing things in your own way. The three, like we said with the Empress, is all about creativity as well, and expressing that way. Now, that is different from if you're wanting guidance in an area and you've asked, the creator even, and said, I don't know how I can do this. How will this happen? And then one of them, even the naysayer, might go, hey, have you ever thought of blah, blah, blah? And you're like, oh, wow. And so it's about the intention and the emotion behind it. Are you taking on their opinions out of fear of rejection or fear of losing praise or wanting to have praise? Or are you living your passion, so excited, and you hear a great idea and you're like, oh my God, that's so good for this. And you'll know the feeling, because one will feel so heavy and one will feel so light, right? All right. And then also for this one, we're going to pull a card here from the Earth Magic Oracle. Just see what else the creator wants you to know about your physical adventure during February. All right, what else for our Aries for their physical adventure, please? Okay, nope, none of those. Okay, that's the one right there. And you have, can't make this up, childhood. Hello, innocence. I just love using all these different types of decks, and then all these cards just synchronistically match up for a beautiful, beautiful message. So childhood, innocence, the light from the heavens falls upon the children through the rays of the sun that illuminate their presence like a spotlight, right? The spotlight here. The little girl reaches out to these bright beams, and these elements together portray an idyllic childhood activity for many of us who have had the privilege of exploring the natural world. And I'm just going to make sure you saw that here. Try to do it without a glare on there. See that there? Okay. The blanket of lush meadow grass embraces a small pond which leads to a more distant valley, one that is darker and shrouded by the very clouds that also produce this remarkable play of light. In their exploration of the world, it's inevitable that these children will at some point lose their original innocence. It doesn't have to be a permanent loss, however. We don't need to live in constant fear in anticipation of such an event, nor do we have to reconcile the loss of that state of purity by constantly romanticizing the past and missing out on the present. The wisdom and faith we've accrued from our life experiences are keys to recapturing the state of innocence. The light that will guide us through any dark passage is the light of spirit from within that connects us with Source. Find our innocence once again. We become aware that it was never lost, just forgotten. And I love that because this is about this, all this, like the praise and punishment. I just feel like the damage, they're doing in quotations, the damage that was done, we can recover our childhood in a completely different way as we, go through this, especially when I talked about the beginning, about seeing your parents in a whole new way. It actually somehow feels like you recover a childhood that you thought you had lost. And so I really like that here. And then it goes on to say, innocence is not simply the lack of guilt or shame, but a quality in itself, one that you naturally possess when you first come into this existence. There are challenges you have faced throughout life and have further shaped your personality and character. You have also likely encountered moments following a disappointment or a loss when you turned sour or cynical, and no doubt have had times when layers of anger or fear block the flow of your vitality, your life force. Yet in spite of all this, there is a core of innocence that you can reawaken by releasing any shame that has covered over the truth of who you are. Take any opportunity to heal this shame and let it go so you can revisit that state of purity. Doing so helps you see every moment with fresh eyes and removes the filters that inhibit your light and love from coming forth. You truly are a child of God, so allow yourself to be that. Perfect. It's right in alignment with everything we've been talking about. And next we're going to move into the swords suit, which swords is the air element, which represents like our minds. It's our thoughts, our beliefs, our mindsets, our attitudes, our expectations. And this is going to be all about your mental adventure during the month of February. So for our Aries, what would you like them to know about their mental adventure, please? Okay, that's that one right there. And you've got the Six of Swords. And the Six of Swords is beautiful for this. I love all these threes and these sixes too. But the Six of Swords is about movement of thought and belief. Normally, like in the standard tarot, you'd see like this canoe or a little boat and someone's sitting there with all the six swords in it and they're moving across from turbulent waters to calm waters. And so this is this movement from old thoughts and old ways of thinking to new ways of thought, of thinking and believing. So we talked about that with this, again, with this transformation of how you're thinking about things, how you perceive things, and the beliefs and all those, like talk about the filters that were developed here because of your past. And with this revisiting of it, it is transforming how you see yourself, how you see others, and how you see the world. So that is so perfect and in alignment with what we were looking at. We'll dig more in here too with these numerology guidance cards and just see what else. What else does the Creator want you to know? That's your mental adventure. Okay, what else for our Aries, please? Okay, that is the one right here. Yep, spirituality. Beautiful card 77. So this is about this development of your spiritual world. I kind of almost feel like there's this Two of Swords card in this suit that they have like a blindfold over their eyes and they have one sword this way and one sword this way. Sometimes they'll have it X'd over. But it's about this duplicity that we have, or this duality where we can see things from two different perspectives. One from the child, the hurt child, our little small human self that is ruled by that fight or flight and all that chaotic, beautiful emotions of, fear. Or from our spiritual side, which is connected to that powerful, supernatural, eternal spirit being that we really are, connecting to a place of unconditional love, where we do see things from a whole different perspective. So I feel like this is this energy that's coming in with it, is that connecting to this higher place, connecting to who you really are, allows you to see things, those capital T truths of life that replace the small t truths of those perceived emotions and situations that we saw from our perspective, because it allows us to see from the bigger picture. And like I mentioned, see everything our parents went through and everyone else around us, in that we're like, okay, it wasn't really so personal. They were just regurgitating a lot with what happened to them. And they were, especially when parents have children younger, it's usually in our later years, our 30s, our 40s, our 50s and beyond, that we start understanding and looking at our lives, right? So let me see what else this offers here too. So this is a need to enhance your connection to the divine, to improve your relationship with yourself as well as your quality of life. You're not a human being having a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. And your relationship with Source, with the Creator, is your path to inner peace. When you find your way to God, you find your way back home. And by having this card appear in your reading, you're being encouraged to celebrate and strengthen your relationship with the divine in whichever way you choose. And I love that, because this relationship with our parent can also totally take on a whole spiritual perspective here with, like I mentioned before, with the Divine Mother, the Divine Father, the Mother and Father of all things, our Creator. So this parent-child relationship can change, and I'll read more here in a sec, but they're just showing me that a lot of times our relationship with our Creator is based on our relationship with our parents. And oftentimes, because of the Divine Father focus of a lot of religions currently, we look at our relationship to our Heavenly Father in the same way that we look at our physical relationship with our physical father, right? And so with this healing and this change that can happen, you can actually look at seeing the Creator from a whole different perspective as well. So this definitely can connect it with your spiritual belief systems, your connection and relationship with the Creator. And they talk about different ways. It says you may opt for prayer, meditation, chanting, yoga, or periods of silence and contemplation. Perhaps quiet time in nature, which Mother Nature, Mother Nurture here. Going on a retreat or attending a place of worship is something you prefer. It doesn't matter which option you choose, for there's no right or wrong. Only you can know your ultimate path to God. You're also being urged to communicate with your lost loved ones, spirit guides, and angels, and ask for assistance when required. No request goes unanswered, and no request is too big or small. And the affirmation of this card is, my relationship with the divine is my path to inner peace. So, okay, so more reiteration of the same messages, which is fantastic. And then lastly, we're going to look at the Cups suit, which is water element, which of course represents our emotions. So we will see here what the Creator wants you to know about your emotional adventure. So for our Aries, okay, it's the one right here. Do you have the Seven of Cups? So many emotions to feel, confusion about how you're supposed to feel, how you can feel, how you feel you're not supposed to feel. And I love this with the relations, everything we're talked about, because there is this, I mentioned before, like when you ask people, or you make a statement that no one's had a perfect childhood, and there's people that go, oh no, I did, I had the most perfect childhood. And it's like, well, there's a lot of, how do they say, deflected emotions when we have our parents on a pedestal, or maybe one parent on a pedestal, and we're like, no, they can't have done anything wrong, because it shakes your entire foundation in your world. And so you have this fogginess that comes, this uncertainty of how you are allowed to feel about anything. And it's beautiful because one is, if you've been pushing all those emotions down for so many years, it's time to let them whittle up to the top and allow Spirit to help you, go through this beautiful process of understanding. And it allows you to bring up an old emotion that maybe you felt guilty about feeling. That's why you stuffed it so deep. But you can bring it up and go, okay, let my little child feel this. And they, let them throw a little tantrum and do whatever they need to do, cry, yell, whatever. But then from your higher adult, more powerful self now, pick them up, hold them, and let them know everything's going to be okay. And then share the story of your parents' childhood, the one that you feel, betrayed by, the one that you feel devastated by, or these emotions around. You can see the story and go, oh, wow, yeah. This is what my mom's childhood was like. This is what my dad's childhood was like. And now I understand why they had the drive to do the things they wanted to do and reacted, or, whatever they may have done. It helps us understand that and move it from being about us to just this beautiful place, It allows you to move into this adulthood where those old things don't impact you like they did before. You don't invest as much emotional energy into them anymore. And then the final card we're going to pull here is from the Starseed Oracle. And because this is the final card, it can either be more about your emotional adventure during this month, but since it is the last card, I will also let it be a wild card to be whatever else the Creator wants you to know about February. So for our Aries, what's your final message for them, please? Okay, actually, they want that one, so we will give that to you. You've got Surrender to the Sweetness. Beautiful card here. It says Venus energy, pleasure, joy, make love to life. So yeah, and this definitely, here again, two individuals on the card here. Just to bring it full circle, this is all about our relationship of others, and our relationship with our parents is the foundational, how we would have interacted with our siblings and our friends and everything else in life, and even our own, spouse as well. And okay, so this is Surrender to the Sweetness of Life. I was looking for a number on these, but these don't have numbers. So this is a sensual, highly feminine card, and it's a call to surrender to the sweetness of life, like with this Empress energy. To let the ever-abundant feminine take over, to taste the fruits you've been working so hard to grow, to let your senses take over and really drink in your life with wonder, to get intoxicated on the simple bounty that this planet has to offer, in which you have within you when your well is full. The ancient Babylonians connected the feminine goddess Ishtar to the planet Venus, and in Roman mythology, Venus was the goddess of love and beauty. In our night sky, aside from the moon, Venus shines the brightest. Time is our most precious resource, and it's the greatest healer. If you've been all work and no play, this is a sign to take some time out. To reconnect with your lover, play with your children, and give yourself the luxury of time without an agenda. So there's that parent-child reference. Many of us are so busy building our lives that we forget to enjoy them. We forget why we decided to build them in the first place. Disconnection from the sweetness causes more pain than we realize. So many of us walk into the soulless buildings 5 days a week in the name of survival. We strive to build the life of our dreams, but drive ourselves to exhaustion. This card is wooing you back to the pleasures of being human, to focusing on what really matters and enjoying your incredible life. And the Starseed Soul Inquiry, it just has just two questions. It says, how can you surrender to the sweetness of life? What's one way you can enjoy your life a little more? So it's beautiful. Yeah, definitely. And I felt like when I was reading that, like when we look at our parents and we're like, wow, how hard they worked, and did they take time to play? And, we as children sometimes are forced to grow up so fast that we don't get to play as much as we would when we were young, how much we could have played and had fun and enjoyed life, because whatever happened forced you to grow up fast. And so this really is this reference to returning to that childhood feeling as well. Go and have this fun. Allow this child to be themselves. Do this ceremony of adulthood as well. Whatever feels, and there's no rule about that. You can't have both in your life. Have this ceremony where you can be an adult and you can do your adulting, but you can also have this childhood, beautiful, joyous feeling as well, and live life and have fun life and laugh a lot and not worry about so much of all the stuff, right? So this is beautiful. I really love this for you. I'm going to leave the reading there, and I want to let you know, in addition to these readings, I also do weekly energy updates by each of the elements, like air signs, fire signs, etc. I do like new moon, full moon readings, and a variety of others. So if you want to get notified when any of those come out, so you don't miss any of them, and if you're enjoying these readings and want to help spread the love, if you give this video a little like, and then also subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and then the little notification bell, that helps you get notified when the new videos come out. But it also helps the YouTube algorithm share these videos with other people. So if you want to do any of that, I definitely would be grateful for it, but there is no pressure or no expectation. It's just a way for us to help share the love. All right, all my Aries, just know as you're going throughout the month of February that each and every second of every day you are unconditionally loved by the Mother and the Father of all things, our Creator. And of course, I love you too. Have an amazing February. I'm sure I'll be talking to you very soon, but until then, you take care.